Items for presentation. Beaufort County Bar Association, Evan Lewis.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to see you all again. I'm Evan Lewis. I'm the president of the Beaufort County Bar Association right now. And we just want to let you know that we're really pleased that you take up the issue of courthouse security. We're all very interested in a secure courthouse. We work there. We're there all the time. And we also appreciate Brian Alligood coming to tell us what the courthouse security policy was. Before I start, go any further, I'd like to point out we have a number of members here. Those of you that are sitting, would you please stand? And those already standing, if you'd raise your hand. These are members of the Beaufort County Bar Association. We have a couple of concerns about what we heard from Mr. Alligood about the current policy. They basically are a restriction on access to the rear door to only employees who work in the courthouse. The rear door is the one closest to here. And also there was a talk of a restriction from being able to get into the areas around the judges' chambers. And we have some concerns about both of those restrictions. I'd say most of them revolve around access to the rear door. As I said, we understand that the rear door will have a lock, that only employees of the courthouse will be able to get in. Frankly, the attorneys who work here in Beaufort County would like to have access to those keys as well, that most of the employees will have in order to get into that door. We are not employees of the courthouse, of course, but we're there. We're often there. We have business there every day, some of us, and several times a day. And we're officers of the court. That's what we're called, because we are within the domain of the justice system. We're a key part of it, and that's why we're there so often. And the most important thing you need to know is, frankly, we're just not security risks. I know our district attorney, Seth Edwards, wrote a letter to Mr. Alligood today saying that. As district attorney, he doesn't see how we're security risks for the courthouse. We've each been certified by the state of North Carolina as of good moral character, and we have to continue that certification in order to continue our licenses, which are very important to us, to practice law. We're subject to discipline by the state bar and by our local judges if we do anything wrong, including anything related to that back door, or something related to the judges' chambers if we go in there. Frankly, my understanding is that these cards will be registered in a way that you'll be able to tell if anybody does anything wrong with their card and be able to deal with that. And I think that's an important factor, and puts us in a position where you can tell if somebody misuses the card, and we can also agree to reasonable terms of use of the card, signing something in writing that says we won't do what shouldn't be done with it, as far as your security consultants feel is necessary to increase the safety of the courthouse. I asked for a copy of all the attorneys registered in District 2, which is this region of the state, and it turned out there were about 30 attorneys on that list. I can tell you one attorney that's not going to have a card key, because I hardly ever go. I'm not going to ask for one. I hardly ever go to the courthouse. And frankly, if I do go to the courthouse, I go downstairs because I have a hard time getting around these days. And both those front steps and those back steps just intimidate me. So I use the elevator. So this isn't for me personally, but it is for folks who might go 12 or 13 times a day from the tax office, where they get their tax stamps, to the Register of Deeds, where they file the paperwork for their clients for real estate transactions. Obviously, the tax office is behind the courthouse, to the north of it, on this side of it. So obviously, the easiest way to get from the tax office into the Register of Deeds is through that back door. Some of us have to go over to the police station, this side of the courthouse, in order to get criminal record reports to use in court. And again, you're on this side of the courthouse. Most of our offices, the folks here in Washington at least, are on this side of the courthouse. So that access is very important to us. We've also heard from some of our trial attorneys. We do appreciate that we're going to have picture IDs that are going to allow us to go past security at the front door and presumably also in the magistrate's office downstairs entrance. But some of our attorneys are concerned that how that would look for them to go past jurors and witnesses and their own clients and kind of cut in line and go in front of them when they're going to have to influence those people later, or they're being paid by those people. It just doesn't look good, and that's a concern as well. Going through the back door would allow them to alleviate that problem. Both our DA, as I said earlier, is in favor of allowing us access through that back door. The resident Superior Court judge has said he supports us having access to the judges' chambers. The Chief District Court judge has said the same thing. They support both of those proposals about our access to those areas. So we would ask that you please reconsider your policy, just to this narrow extent that both county attorneys who request one of these keys be allowed to have it so they can have access to the back door and whatever security measures are installed related to judges' chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from any commissioners? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, you have in your packet the letter from the district attorney, and you also have in your packet a letter from Mr. Fred Olsher, who also submitted a letter in response to the attorney's request.
Okay, very good.
And just real quick to let you know, the list that we have so far, we've had 36 attorneys request credentials through Lisa Williams with the emergency management offices handling that. We've had 36 attorneys request credentials, and 13 of those have requested access to the rear door of those 36.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harold Robertson.
Mr. Chairman.
Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, we're still on this subject right here for a second. I'll make a motion that.
Not the time.
Why not?
Your item is later down in the item for decision, isn't it?
On this subject right here.
You have an item, don't you? Very same place?
Well, okay, I can say my motion till then. Yes, sir. I can do that. Which one do you want to do first? I mean, if someone's waiting to go, we can do that one.
But you had a motion about the security, the door.
Oh, yeah. Well, the motion, the resolution on that is we've got these people sitting over there at the courthouse, and there's two parts to that. We have people sitting over at the courthouse, and we don't have the hardware and that the metal detection and all this sort of thing. I mean, we're paying for something that we're really not getting. And my question to the managers, how long are we going to keep paying for nothing?
We are about 3 weeks out, is my understanding. From they're pulling wires, they're doing the things they need to do. Those guys are opening the courthouse and they're providing the presence. But we are probably still about 3 weeks out in making all of those hardware upgrades.
About 3 weeks out from that. Okay. And let's see, what was the other part of that two-part thing?
You wanted earlier. You wanted to make a motion. I told you that was not the time, and so now I'm giving you your time
to make the motion on entry to the courthouse. Well, part of this too is I think we've covered part of this where we asked the manager to explain the qualifications for why you had how to get entry into the courthouse. And I like to make the motion that the legal community, the officers of the court, that they be afforded the special pass to get in the back door of the courthouse, and that others be afforded a special pass to get into the courthouse. Surveyors, which I happen to be a surveyor. My office is 50 feet from the courthouse. You know, I may go into the courthouse 5 or 6 times a day, and you got to go up there and stand in line and get through a pass system and get permission to get into the Register of Deeds. I mean, come on, let's this is the public's courthouse, and we're denying the public access to their courthouse. So included in my motion are attorneys, land surveyors, and any other professionals that access the record system at the courthouse, that they be able to apply for access. That's the motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
And granted access.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I'm assuming that when we allow the attorneys to go in the back door, that means that they cannot give their card to somebody in their firm, or they cannot allow somebody to walk in right behind them. That there is going to be some control over who has that card, and that they lose those privileges if somebody walks in with them that's not authorized, or they pass that card off to someone else in the firm.
Mr. Chairman, if I could speak to that, that is correct. One of the things that we need to clearly understand from the board, if there are changes to the proposed policy or the current policy, there has been initially the way it's set up right now is officers of the court, and officers of the court are attorneys. You'll see in the letter from the DA also referenced paralegals in those firms. There has been some question about paralegals having access. So from our perspective, we just want to clearly understand from the board, if there's going to be a change, what that change entails and who it includes. So my question, and also, as you'll read in the district attorney's letter, he talks about in-county attorneys and out-of-county attorneys. So just in my notes, we would need to understand, if you're in-county attorney, do you get access to the back door? If you're a paralegal and you work for an in-county attorney, do you get access? If you're an out-of-county attorney, do you get backdoor access, or do you just get the front pass access? And here's another wrinkle in that. We have a paralegal who doesn't work for, she's an independent paralegal. She works for a bunch of different attorneys.
That's right.
She's not considered an officer of the court. So when she sent us a note and said, I'd like to apply for one, we said, I'm sorry, you're not defined as an officer of the court. So that's something else we would like to clarify with you if you decide to make changes on that. We just want to be clear on what we're doing. We don't want there to be any ambiguity on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
When we first set the courthouse security up through our committee, a gentleman came and explained everything to us from the security company, and he said the least amount of people that have access to the courthouse, the better off we'll be. He called it porous. And if we start allowing everyone to have a security pass for the back door, then what's the need for security to start with? Waylon Sermons, he said he would like to see it, but he said, I'm not a security person, so let the security handle it. So my thought on that is that we keep it as is. The people that work in the courthouse are the only ones that have passes.
Commissioner Buzzio.
My understanding is that some of the officials will get cards so they can bypass the security in the front.
That's the way we have it set up now. And that's where we've had, or this is the last list I had, there were 36 attorneys who had applied for that, and it's just a card that allows you, it matches your ID. What we require is that they give us their contact information, their bar number, and a photo, and then we put that on an ID, not unlike what we carry. It's a different color so that you can identify it, and then they would carry that, and they would come in the front door where the metal detectors are, either downstairs or at the main entrance, and show that. The security officers would identify that and allow them to come through without going through the metal detectors.
And my understanding, we're not allowed to use the back door. The commissioners aren't. We have to go through the front entrance and go through security.
According to your current policy, only the people who physically work in the courthouse would have that rear door swipe access.
If I want to visit the courthouse for any reason, I have to go through security.
As it currently stands, yes, sir.
Stands.
And the one thing that I want to make clear in this motion that was made by Commissioner Richardson, it has nothing to do with judges' chambers. We're not even talking about upstairs in the judge's chambers, because as far as I'm concerned, that is an item that really has not been resolved. So we're not talking about that right now. We're simply talking about the rear door.
And just to say that, when I spoke to the Bar Association and explained to them where we were, that question was raised. And of course, Judge Paul was there, and Judge Paul said, I don't have any problems with that. But my initial response to that was, that's a decision for the judges to make if they, so we actually put that back on them to determine whether that was appropriate.
Okay.
I have another question. So somebody who works in the well, let's say we were going to expand it, and they would get a card. Now, if I was to give my card to somebody else, would somebody be at the door checking to see if I gave my card to somebody else, and somebody else was using my card?
Well, when you say card now, if you're talking about the backdoor access proximity card, the proximity card, nobody will be there. It unlocks when you touch the proximity card to the piece of electronic.
Okay,
it
so
allows you
so
access.
proximity card. If I want to use my proximity card, or I want to give it to somebody else, there's nobody there to check it. If I want to bring somebody in with me, there's nobody there to check it.
When we issue those, it's with the understanding that you don't do that, and there'll be a written. We haven't issued those yet because we don't have them in place, but there will be a signed form that you would sign to say, I will not allow piggybacking, and I won't give this card to anyone else that's in my personal possession.
A number of companies that have that policy, they institute the policy. If you get caught, you get a 3-day suspension, because a lot of people do it.
I think aren't we supposed to have a camera at the back door to view?
Christina's shaking her head.
Somebody is doing that. We'll have film.
All right.
I have one of them another go. I think it's absolutely incredible that in the United States of America, a free country, that this board is sitting here so paranoid in a rural community that has had no incidents of attacks or people getting hurt in the courthouse, et cetera, et cetera. And we're talking about denying access to the courthouse to the citizens of this county, and then we're getting into the legal fraternity that uses the courthouse, and we're talking about denying them access. Surveyors and other people use the Register of Deeds office, which is a part of the courthouse, and everybody in Beaufort County, according to this board, is all of a sudden a criminal. Do you realize that that's what's happening to you? You're moving government further and further away from the people, and you are empowering the bureaucracy of government to dictate your lives more and more, and you will eventually be working for them. People need to stand up on this particular issue. This is a lot bigger issue than it looks like it is insofar as the Constitution of the United States is concerned and your rights as a citizen of the United States of America. If you're scared to death of your job, you're scared to death to be a judge, and you're scared to death to be a commissioner, and you're scared to death to work in the courthouse, you need to go work somewhere else.
Mr. Chairman, it was my understanding the commissioners didn't ask for the security system.
Exactly right.
It's my understanding that the judges and the people over in the courthouse asked for this security system. I would have been happy just to leave it like it was.
But you're giving it to them. You're sitting here voting for this. It doesn't matter who asked for it. We're the people that are in control of this.
I'd have been
You can't
glad
back
to
this off on somebody else, Bob.
But the people over there asked for it, and that's why it came up, and that's why they formed that committee.
It's not our job to give it to them just because they asked for it. We're the elected officials. You are the responsible individual, not somebody that asked for something.
Well, they're the employees that work in there. They must not have felt secure.
You won't take a poll of them. We asked you to take a poll of all the county employees, and that was voted down. So you really don't know how they feel about it.
That was a poll on concealed carry. That wasn't a poll on.
Oh, you know how a few fraidy cats that work in the courthouse feel, but you don't know how the population feels.
Well, they're the ones that work there.
As soon as Frankie gets back, we'll vote. I don't want to vote and he's not in here, because his vote would automatically go into the affirmative. His vote may be an affirmative anyway.
Get that door open.
All in favor of Commissioner Richardson's motion, raise your right hand. All opposed? It failed. Okay, you can continue.